What's up, y'all, and welcome to Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast powered by Old City Sports Network, the best network for all your Philadelphia sports needs. This is your host, Michael Roscoe. The Eagles are on summer break, and we're already feeling the heat. Find out which Eagles receiver is set to possibly have a breakout season, plus what other veteran other than Jair Alexander could the Eagles acquire that may have a nostalgic name to it, and some new insight on the Tush Push. Without wasting any more time, let's dive right into it. Okay, y'all, so for tonight's topic points themselves, I pulled the topics from the Eagles Wire. They're a great source for Eagles content, along with other sources, of course. Now, like the numbers, the topics, the factual information was written by members of the Eagles Wire. However, the opinions and the discussions that we're going to have about that are my own work. So starting with our wide receiver 3, will he have a breakout season? When we acquired wide receiver Jahan Dotson from the Commanders last year, the hype around the former first-round pick was evident. However, I feel like it took a little longer in the season than expected for Dotson to get his footing. By no means, though, was he a liability. That's not the case at all. But it just didn't seem like he was actively involved in the team until the playoffs, where he scored his one and only touchdown with the Birds so far. But there's been talk about the possibility of Dotson having a breakout season in his second year with Philly. Is it possible? I mean, of course, anything is possible. But in this particular case, I think so, especially if the Eagles look to reserve some of their run game. Now, I'd be very surprised if the Eagles did not use Saquon Barkley to the fullest extent. But at the same time, it's not a bad idea either to rely more on the pass game if you want to keep a guy like Saquon Barkley out of harm's way as much as possible. And of course, naturally, if you're airing the ball out more than you were in the previous season, as a receiver, your possible number of targets increases, which would be beneficial for Jahan Dotson. Plus, I think Dotson's lack of production is justified when you have, one, a run-heavy offense, and two, you have receiver targets in front of you that are A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. You know, you're not going to get the most targets when you have those three guys on the field. I'm sorry, no matter what receiver you are. However, Dotson's apparently been, quote, catching every single pass targeted to him in camp so far, according to Jeff McLean in an article. I think it'd be smart to target Dotson more often, and I think the offensive coaches would think so too, especially if you have a new offensive coordinator in the picture who may want to add more to the passing game. Plus, a lot of defenses assume/know that Hurts will target either Brown, Smith, or Goddard often in the passing game, but I can't say the same for Jahan Dotson, which may come to his advantage. It seems like the trust between Hurts and Dotson has done nothing but increase over the 2024 season, especially considering he didn't drop a single one of his passes last season, and I think that's a great setup for Dotson going into the 2025 season. Plus, I think Dotson himself has got a new mindset going into his second year with Philly. He's got a new number, funny enough, it's number 2, and a new sense of mind now that he's had a full season to integrate himself with the other Eagles offensive playmakers. My expectations, they're not super high, but I do have a feeling we'll see noticeable improvement from Jahan Dotson this year. All right, moving on to our next topic point. So there's been some updated information on the Tush Push, and I know it's been talked about a lot, but I found this pretty interesting and I wanted to share it with y'all. So, in an article written by Jeffrey Knox, Pro Football Focus, or PFF, revealed some interesting insight on the infamous Tush Push play. According to PFF, the Eagles lead the league in usage of the play and in total expected points after, or EPA. Now, that comes to no shock at all. However, according to the analytics, which are discussed in a separate article from Ben Lindsay, the Eagles actually rank second in total conversion percentage and rank sixth in average EPA when running the tush push play. So, what does this all mean? Basically, the Eagles lead in expected points after running the tush push, but on a typical per game basis, there are 5 teams who have higher expected points after, which are the Tampa Bay Bucks, Green Bay Packers, Baltimore Ravens, Denver Broncos, and Detroit Lions. With conversion percentage, this is a different part of it, it's actually the Buffalo Bills who have an 84% conversion rate, while the Eagles have an 83% conversion rate. And this is all since 2021, which is lower than the 92% success conversion rate the Eagles had with the tush push at one point. With this information, here are my thoughts and opinions on it. The first thing with this is, even with all this, I still think that the Eagles run this play the best out of any team in the league. Hell, I'll say even over the past 4 years consecutively, the Eagles are top notch at this shit. Why do I believe this? Because it goes on into my second thought, which is quantity and sample sizes matter when it comes to statistics, when it comes to any statistics, but especially in NFL statistics. Now, this is why a lot of people don't necessarily fuck with PFF numbers all too much, but this applies to statistics in general. Now, do I use statistics to justify some opinions every now and then? Of course, who doesn't? However, I try to find statistics that have large quantitative information because it shows an actual representation of the majority of whatever you're trying to gain stats from. So here's a hypothetical. You have 2 studies. One says that 50% of people like the color blue, but another study says 80% of people like the color green. But then you look at the sample sizes of both studies. The number of people asked if they liked blue was out of a sample size of 100, so 50% of 100 is obviously 50. However, the group that was asked if they liked the color green only had a sample size of 10 people, so 80% of 10 is 8. So percentage-wise, it looks like more people like green than blue. However, quantitatively, more people like blue because obviously 50 is way more than 8. So that's how stats can be misleading and why sample size is so important. Now, let's apply this back to our topic point, the tush push. The Eagles ranked second in the league with the conversion rate of 83% and the Bills with 84%. And this is all when the teams have 2 or fewer yards needed to convert. The Bills ran the tush push 43 times since 2021 under these parameters and succeeded on 38 of those attempts. The Eagles ran it 82 times and have succeeded on 68 of them. So the Bills may have a higher conversion rate percentage, yet the Eagles converted nearly twice as many successful conversions. The same principle applies to the EPA. The Eagles have the 6th ranked average, but that's because they ran the play in total 145 times, while the 2nd ranked team in usage, the Bills, has only ran it 77 times. The point being, stats can be misleading as fuck if you don't know the sample sizes. If you have a 100% success rate of touchdowns, but only on 1 attempt versus a 70% success rate in 35 attempts, I'm sorry, I'll take the lower percentage, higher quantity of success rate any day. And the final thought I have about the tush push itself with all these numbers and statistics is the irony. I've said this before, but these numbers kind of prove a point. If teams actually ran the play more often or worked on trying to stop it versus trying to ban it, they could be more successful at it. I'm not saying other teams could become better than the Eagles at the tush push, but the other team's percentage rates can be an indicator that a team could be more successful with running the tush push or make teams less successful with it by actually fucking practicing how to run the play or how to defend it. But no, people want to ban it. Also, the teams that have the higher percentage EPA and conversion rate, which again are the Bills, Bucks, Packers, Ravens, Broncos, and Lions, 4 of those 6 teams voted to ban the Tush Push. Yet they're not recognizing a pattern of potential success within their own teams of using the Tush Push play because they just want to be fucking whiny and lazy and just try to get rid of it. They could be more successful. They're just shooting themselves in the foot by trying to get rid of it instead of being like the Eagles and working your ass off on the play to become the most successful at it, which is why I find it ironic. All right, our final topic point tonight. Could there be another junior on the roster? With all the media frenzy of Jair Alexander possibly going to the Eagles, the idea of bringing in a veteran DB is still possible in some minds. And now with Jair Alexander in Baltimore, another veteran corner is off the table. But another name recently resurfaced thanks to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. Out of the remaining, top 101 free agents from the 2024 season, according to NFL.com, a cornerback ranking 21st overall has come back into the mix, and that, of course, is Asante Samuel Jr. If the name sounds familiar, it's because it is. So for those who don't know, Asante Samuel Jr.'s father, Asante Samuel, played on the Eagles for 4 seasons between 2008 and 2011, and I think got like a Pro Bowl in 2009 or something like that. Anyway, after acquiring Jeremiah Trotter Jr. in the draft, whose father also played for the Birds, the thought of having another Eagles legacy player is kind of intriguing. But do we go after Samuel Jr.? Looking at it, here are, I think, my pros and cons with this whole situation. So the pros. He's only 25 years old, much younger than the other available free agent corners such as Stephon Gilmore or Mike Hinton, and that allows him to have more time to continue to develop his career and train better under a defensive mastermind like Vic Fangio. Another pro of adding Samuel would add veteran depth. Samuel Jr.'s been in the league for, I think, at least 4 years, and adding veteran depth to a group that has an average of like 3 or less years of experience would be helpful to some of those younger guys. Additionally, it'll be helpful to have veteran depth considering the various injuries that we've had in the DB room over the last few years or so. And just with last year, players such as Darius Slay, Isaiah Rodgers, Sidney Brown, and Reed Blankenship all missing some sort of time due to injuries. Another pro of adding him is it would allow more versatility in the defense. So if Vic Fangio decides to use Cooper DeJean at either outside corner or in safety in base coverage, you can have an additional player who can play outside or can fill in the slot position. Now, even though Samuel's experience is mainly on the outside, he does have that experience in the slot, which could be advantageous to the Vic Fangio scheme. All right, now here are some cons in adding him. Teams just have not expressed really any much interest. If he was thought to be more of a significant player, I feel like he would have been scooped up by now. And that shows a potential con on him having the team that, signing him might be a mistake. The other con is he's coming off a neck injury. Now, is this the end of the world? Not necessarily, but it could hinder his impact to become immediately available if needed early on in the season. And plus, he's also had a significant shoulder injury, so his injury history in general could be a factor in the Eagles not signing him, much like that with Jair Alexander. Another con of possibly signing him, and this is kind of a big one, he's been noted to have some issues with speed a little bit, but mainly tackling. It's been speculated that he's had a noticeable issue with tackling, a little bit with speed, but more so tackling, with various individuals saying he just can't do it. Now, in the 4 games that he played last year before his injury, he had 11 total tackles. So with weighing out the pros and cons, overall, if we're able to sign him on a cheap 1-year deal, I would not be mad about it. If the asking price is too high, then it's definitely no thanks for me. I couldn't tell you what a good price for him would be, but considering his injury history, I can't imagine the Eagles would pay a lot for him. I mean, shit, the Ravens just picked up Jair Alexander on a 1-year deal for only $6 million. So I got to imagine it'll be under that price tag. And other than injuries, The tackling deficits can easily be fixed as he continues to develop, especially under a fantastic defensive scheme, and since he's only 25 years old, could be a potential long-term investment if 1 year under the Eagles does well for him. All right, y'all, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you all for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow on YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok by searching at Second and 15. That's 2NDAND15, or by the full name Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast. You can also find the audio for each and every single episode releasing Thursday mornings on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Player FM, Pocket Casts, or wherever you get your podcasts. This week's episode, Second and 15, and Old City Sports Network are brought to you by SeatGeek. Head on over to SeatGeek.com or download the app and use promo code Old City Sports Network, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. As the summer rolls around, there's going to be lots of sporting events and concerts, a lot of events that you'll want to get tickets for, and SeatGeek is the app to do so. By using our promo code, you'll save $20 off on purchase only at SeatGeek. Once again, thanks y'all for joining in. This is Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast powered by Old City Sports Network. We will see you all next week. Don't forget to stay fly like an eagle, and as always, go Birds!